So let's move on to a Health and Human Services question. I'm going to look to you, Representative Liebling, because this viewer from Canby, Minnesota, is concerned about what this viewer describes as a critical wage increase to caregivers working with the disabled population. This viewer is concerned that there have been promises made to deal with this issue in the past and nothing's happened. So let's ask where that's going.
Right. Well, that's a great question. And I know that this is something that is greatly concerning to people around the state. I mean, the problem is really critical because, you know, we do have a shortage of workers. And in this sector, we have people who are not making enough money in this very difficult job that they can stay there and still take care of their family. So they're leaving for other things. And this is really creating a crisis for many people with disabilities who just cannot get the help they need. So in the House bill, in the Senate bill that have now passed the floor, to my understanding, neither of those bills provides any increase for people who are the caregivers. The last time there was an increase was 2015. July 1st, 2015, there was an increase, the last increase that had been passed by previous legislatures. And the last 2 years, nothing, and now probably nothing going forward. I mean, I hope this can change because the bills that have been passed cut the budget in Health and Human Services, and this is something that really is critical. So I'm glad that the viewer is asking about this. We've got to do better.
Yeah, and I actually carried that bill in 2015 for the 5% for each year of the biennium. And I thought it was terribly disingenuous last session when the proposal was a 5% increase and it was going to come out of waste and fraud, as you recall, in Health and Human Services, which we knew wasn't true.
Yeah.
And I also find it somewhat disingenuous this year when people are promising that they're going to, increase the amount again. I think it's 4% each year of the biennium. When we know that, we know it's not going to happen. The funding isn't there. One of the things we've learned on the Aging Committee is that within the next 5 to 7 years, we anticipate a shortage of 44,000 employees working in home health care, working with seniors, and we're not going to find employees if we're not paying them a decent wage. If they can go to McDonald's across the street and make $2 or $3 more an hour and not have the responsibilities that they have caring for the most vulnerable members of our society, then they're not going to continue in those jobs.
And I'm glad, too, that the caller called in. This is probably one of my biggest disappointments that I've seen this year, too. I was talking with a lot of my colleagues. Chair Joe Schumacher was carrying this bill for us, and I was carrying some of the workforce enhancements. I think there's some policy in our bill, but there isn't the dollars I was looking for, as well as Representative Liebling had said. I've got folks in Kaneohe County. We have one of the largest per capitas of group homes that are dealing with these adults with disabilities, and I'm just hurting badly for those employees that work so hard. They're so dedicated. And I'm still working on this thing. I guess when you can't get out of one of the bills in the House and it isn't in the governor's budget, it's a problem. It's a huge ticket. That's the biggest problem we have is that, and I just feel terrible that we haven't made enough noise. And so I'm glad the caller called this in, and I hope that we can continue to work on this because it's a big, big priority for us, especially in my area as well.
I, too, agree. I ran on that this time. People with disabilities and the care they're getting, I think, is less than adequate. I've seen it at different places that I visited in my district, but I wouldn't cut us too short yet. It's still a little bit early, if you will. You remember a couple of years ago when the funding came down for the senior citizens and the nursing homes, and Representative Schumacher did a marvelous job, I think, of funding that.
138 million.
I want to say 130-some plus $million that was very well needed, and we have to shift over to this area right now. We have a need there. We have a work shortage, obviously, and we family members that have people that are in those facilities want familiarity. They want people to recognize one another, especially the employees that work there. Really no different than the senior population that we dealt with. So I'm optimistic that there's going to be some more dollars.
But it's terribly expensive.
Yeah.
Just to get those employees up to $15 an hour would add anywhere from $2 to $3 billion to the state budget which is a huge amount.
Yeah.
And yet, $15 an hour, considering the work that they're doing, is not, a wage that most people would be happy with.
Well, a little more on this topic. There was a report by the Office of the Legislative Auditor that came out just a couple of months ago that talked about our system of what we call home and community-based services, which includes all of this. And the recommendations in that report were that we as a state need better reporting from these providers that often are employing the people who do the direct service. And we need we need more reporting because $2.8 billion every year is going into these services, and yet we don't really have a good sense of where are the shortages, how much are people getting paid, how many hours are people working, things like that. I tried to bring up amendments in committee on that very thing and got voted down on 2 different occasions. So, this is something I don't quite understand why people would be against more accountability when we are spending so much money in this area, because the one thing we know, we will never have enough money to waste. We have to know where it's going so that we can focus the money and make sure that people get essential services.
Right.